We got another Patreon request here. This is from Steve. He requested me to watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which starring Nicolas Cage. And this movie is very different from other movies I have seen of recent years. And on this episode, Movie Breakdown is going to talk about it. But before we get started, I want to let you know I do reviews, and the review you want me to do, put it in the conversation below, and I get to it best I can. I also have a Patreon, Patreon/Ali Zakka, and for $2 a month, you can cut in front of everybody, get your review out way before it comes out on Facebook and YouTube. Now, one more thing before we get this review off the ground and going, we have a guest. Steve himself is back after like 5 or 6 year hiatus on the show. He is back. Steve, say what's up to the crowd, say what's up to everybody.
Hey everyone, it's great to be back. I think last time we did this was 2018, 2023 now. Lots has changed, but I am so excited for this.
Yeah, I think the last review was like Lord of the Rings. If not, I think it was Lord of the Rings, the Return of...
No, we never did Return of the King. We did Two
Towers. Yes.
And that was it.
Wow. Yeah, you can go watch those episodes, guys, on YouTube. They're like in the early days of movie breakdowns. They're still up. You can go watch them, and it's a pleasure to have you back, man. It's been too long. It's been way too long. Okay.
It's been way too long.
But let's go and get today's review of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent by Nicolas Cage from the year 2022. Wow, this is just last year. Wow.
This past year, yeah.
Yeah. All right. And since this movie been out for over a year, we're gonna have spoilers in it. So you haven't seen the movie, you can go stop the review and go watch it. If you don't mind spoiling, you continue watching it because it's been out for what? What's the release day on this movie?
It's your fault that you haven't watched it yet. Honestly, you should really take the time to do it.
Yeah, it's been a whole year actually. April 2022. April 22 is when the movie came out in 2022. So they did that on purpose. But, alright, so what's the movie about? The movie is about Nicolas Cage and his career pretty much winding down. He's trying to revive his career and nobody really wants him. He's on his last leg and he's like, screw it, I'm quitting acting. But he has one more thing he has to do, and that is attend a birthday party for, I believe it was $1 million.
Yeah, it's a billionaire that owns an olive company that's his biggest fan.
Well, we don't know that part just yet. You find that out as you get to the mansion, and he's like, who is this dude? He's like, I'm your biggest fan. And from there, a bunch of shenanigans ensue where the guy who is a billionaire is actually a crime lord that Nicolas Cage got helped the FBI or CIA take down. And that is pretty much the gist of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Steve, you want to go first on the things you like, or you want me to go first?
You can go first with the things you like.
The things I like how this movie is, it's a definitely original movie. It's a movie where, like, I didn't know how it was going to end, and it's a movie that didn't take itself too seriously. Like, it knew, one, that it's a movie kind of like glorifying Nicolas Cage, but not glorifying Nicolas Cage. Like, Nicolas Cage wasn't trying to be like, praise me, I'm Nick Cage. It was just like, I'm the actor Nick Cage, my career is coming to an end kind of thing. And it was just like a fan just wanted to be around him and hang out with him. But so the fan is doing all these things like, yo, you was great in this movie, I need you to get back into acting, I have a script you need to do for me. And Nick Cage like, yeah, I'm really not about that life right now. But the movie itself did little things where, like, it was telling you, like, this is Act 2 starting. Oh, this is Act 3 starting because we're writing a script. It was funny. It was like they were doing a script for a movie within a movie, and it was just over the top shenanigans. But I liked how it was an original thing. It's not something that I've seen before, even though I could. One of my dislikes, I'll talk about this later. I could pinpoint some things where, like, yeah, they kind of rely on some movie tropes there, but for the most part, it's kind of just a surreal movie in a sense because it's like an actor being himself, but also acting in a movie.
Exactly, yeah. The thing I really like about the movie, though, how it is so unique. It is a meta comedy that is self-aware of that it is just making a movie. When Nicolas Cage and Pedro's character Javi were making their own movie in it, they entire movie. It turned into a buddy film, turned into a kidnapping, turned into a chase, because that made it more universal for people, and then that's what they made in the final product, which is, I think, is super unique, because not a lot of movies are able to make fun of themselves and still be taken seriously, especially in today's world. So like, this is a very unique movie where they can do that, and Nicolas Cage was okay being made fun of in order to move the plot. Something that I thought was interesting, though, too, is Nicolas Cage different persona, because I feel like with his different persona, that's how the public views Nick Cage, as a superstar or as someone that will just take any role possible to get that money. While the different side of Nicolas Cage is what we were mainly watching, is someone that cares about acting, cares about the methods, but still can't even connect with his own family members, you know? But the movie's just so self-aware and so unique. That's what I really liked about it. And just the different directions that they took during it. Like, they talked about doing a huge drug scene. They had a huge drug scene. They had just so many different aspects of it that made it interesting compared to other comedies I see in today's world.
Right. That is a good point. Like, they did talk, and I saw it kind of play out too. Like the way you're saying it, you're like, wait a minute, this movie's taking itself, like it's making fun of itself and doing things where like, oh, this about to happen, get a kidnapping. You're like, the kidnapping, they're like talking, discussing over the script. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, no, I think the kidnapping is a good idea. Like, nah, that seems stupid. We're not gonna do a kidnapping. Then all of a sudden, a kidnapping happened. Well, one of the reasons why Nick Cage was also bringing the kidnapping was because was it the CIA?
I think it was CIA.
Tiffany?
Yeah, CIA was spying on Javi. Then Nick Cage came in for the birthday party because Javi wanted him there. And then they planted something on Cage in order to spy on Javi. And then they kind of roped Cage into it.
Yes, and because the daughter of a president was trying to run for office, but they didn't want him running, so they kidnapped his daughter. So Nicolas Cage tried to bring a kidnapping to get Javi to reveal that, like, hey, you have somebody. Where are they? And he's like, what do you mean we have somebody?
Yeah.
I would say another thing I like this movie was the acting. I feel like everybody did give it 110%. They just didn't like sell it short, but like, yeah, I'm in a parody movie of itself. I'm not gonna be serious, but no, they really did put in the work in this movie, and I really did like. I was like, I got behind the characters because I felt like the actors themselves were like going in. You know, like Pedro Pascal playing a character who's admiring.
He went so hard in this movie.
He really did. Like, there's scenes where he is cutting in between like himself and then cutting to his actor persona in the movie, and like he like, for example, snaps on Nicolas Cage, especially like the gun fighting or the gun shooting scene. He like snaps on Nicolas Cage. I was thinking like, okay, is he the bad guy? And then he's being schizophrenic or like changing his personalities because like, oh, he's dangerous. You gotta have the dangerous character. And like, no, he's not the bad guy. Matter of fact, he's a super sweetheart character. His cousin is the bad guy, which I'm like, I should have saw that coming earlier because he showed up and he looked like a bad dude. And then of course he comes in being like, oh, here's the plot twist that the dislike that I had of the movie was that plot twist where it's like, oh, Javi's not the bad guy. His cousin's the bad guy. His cousin's the drug lord. His cousin's funding everything. Javi's just a front man because it's the family business. And I'm just like, really? Y'all couldn't do it?
Good twist, I feel like.
It was overdone, man. That's an overdone twist. Like, they pretty much just removed, like Cocaine Bear. They removed the villainy of the character that you thought was the villain. They got rid of that because, oh, Cocaine Bear, she has cubs. Obviously, she's not gonna be a monster. Oh, show up Ray Liotta. He's the bad guy for no reason, just because. This is the same thing in this movie. His cousin was a bad guy for no reason, just because they didn't want to make Javi the actual bad guy. Like,
but in a way, Javi still did take the money, though. You know, in a way, he did say he couldn't get out of it, but he still did take the money.
But
so in a way, does that make him an accomplice? You know.
But he's an accomplice, but he's not doing anything malicious. He wasn't like killing people. He was just, I'm stuck in it because it's my family situation. This is my dad, like, got me into this. I can't get out the family business, so I'm stuck here. Versus like being like, no, Nick Cage, I have this kid. I'm keeping them because I want to make sure my stuff stays intact, and this person here.
But that would not appeal to the audience, was what they were talking about the entire movie. How do they appeal to a universal audience? And that, I think that kind of like goes into like the meta of the movie, because they wanted to make Pedro Pascal a good guy. He was always going to be a good guy. No one wants to root against Pedro Pascal.
You can make it happen. You
could make it happen.
You can have a heel turn.
If we were to love a Pedro Pascal right now, no one would do that, I feel like.
But that'd make it even better. Like, nobody's gonna hate the movie because Pedro Pascal stayed the bad guy, or he was the bad guy. Like, actually, give him a different role. Because right now, Pedro Pascal has been nothing but good guys, and everything he's done, he has been a good guy.
Right now is Pedro Pascal being a good guy.
But like, you can have him be a bad guy, and with one instant, and they'd be like, "You're right. You know, here you go, Nick Cage. You have thwarted me."
It's like another 3 years in his career. He'll be a bad guy then. But
It's been long enough. He's on Game of Thrones. That's Oberyn Martell as a good guy.
For sure. He was Joel in The Last of Us. And I would say that was a great character, like a good person. He was like a lawful evil.
Lawful evil. He's a Mandalorian. Like, he can be a bad guy. It's okay to be a bad guy for 30 minutes. We're not going to be butthurt. I didn't like the fact...
Universal love, and I think that's what the movie was kind of getting at. Being it is a self-aware comedy, that people want to love Pedro Pascal. It would make more money. They'll have more of an audience pull in with Pedro Pascal as his fanboy. You know?
He can still be the fanboy, but he can also still be the villain. Like...
Sure.
And he can be like, he can be one of those well-written villains like Thanos or Loki, where you're like, all right, I don't agree with what you're doing or how you're going about it, but I understand where you're coming. Not Loki. Loki's a bad one.
But that had nothing with this kind of comedy film, though.
I think it could have. It could have.
But that would have ruined like the buddy shift, you know?
But that's the movie itself playing itself out versus like it actually, because then the movie, just like Tropic Thunder, it ended with them in theater watching the movie, and nigga, which I had to double check myself. I rewound that scene like four or five times. I was like, did the wife just check? Why is it a United States flag? They're in Spain. Were they in Spain or Italy?
Something about that makes me love the movie even more, because the shooting of it. I don't know if you noticed, like, when it started to switch, like, the panels started to get slower.
Yeah.
It became that action movie. It was a similar thing when they were on the cliffs, and, like, Pedro Pascal was trying to get Nick Cage to become an actor again. I love acting. You see, when it flips for Nick Cage, the panels start to grow short again, like an action movie.
Yes.
So I love the shooting of this movie because it's so interesting.
Well, it's not called IMAX. It's called, I can't think of the term that the panel, when the panel shrinks in like that. Cause Transformers movie does it all the time. It shrinks down and right back up. But like the movie did it, but then the lighting of the movie changed too. It went from like, instead of like the dull color, went to like that bright, like wherever filter they put on those action would make it bright and more loud. Was it Demi Moore also in there too? Like,
yeah, Demi Moore was in the movie at the end.
And I was sitting there like, did the daughter mom just change? Like, I can imagine watching this in theaters and losing my freaking mind that scene, because it was such it was a flawless shift. I was like, did I miss something? Like, when did the daughter?
It transition of the knife throw at the very end.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll give it credit. Like, the editing in this movie was good because it was a flawless. That transition, I'll probably remember that more than anything of this movie because of how smooth it went through. Like, it literally just went, whoa. I was like, wait, why are they in the United States? All right, what about some dislikes? So we talked about, because like we both right now, we do like this movie. I did enjoy this movie. Actually, probably at this point in time right now, one of my favorite Nick Cage movies. What about dislikes? What do you think on some dislikes?
For sure. So something I did not like about this movie was a little bit of the pacing. So I feel like they could have like shortened some things to make it not as long. Because I feel like some points it did drag out far more longer than it needed to.
Okay, I'm glad it wasn't. I was like, I felt that a little bit. Like, there's certain scenes where I was watching it, I was like, okay, stay with it. But I already know the point of the scene. I know what they're talking about, and they just kind of like going a little longer and longer. And I was like, all right. And that right there, it was a little bit that I did notice. But I think for me, just as far as storyline goes, that villain switch really bothered me. Like,
I like that part, but I understand how some people don't like it. Just the instant bam, because like he wasn't even talked about that much. He was introduced as much.
it was a scene like it was him and Pedro Pascal's love interest. We both showed up like together, and she was like, "You need to do this thing." Like she showed up to tell Nick Cage, "You need to go to the sunset and that, or go to the cliff," and that's it. And then she disappeared. Then it was like his cousin showed up at the same time, and then he just disappeared for like a good 40 minutes of the movie, and then come back around and like, "Yo, Nick Cage is working for the FBI or CIA, and we have proof." And Pedro Pascal's like, "What do you mean, proof?" Like, it just like he just came out of nowhere, and then now he's your villain. And then some other dude, Sergio, I think the dude was like the head villain that you never met. Which I like how they did that. Which I for a moment thought his wife was Sergio. I was like, oh, is she? Because the way she acted, I was like, oh, she's the real Sergio. Like that'd be, of course, a movie in 2023. Where like another plot twist, like no, it's not the man, because you try to act like it's a 80s movie. It's not the man who's the bad guy. It's been the woman the whole time, which I respect that. I thought this movie was gonna play that trope as well. They didn't, but it actually never meets Sergio. But the fact that the villain literally just came out of nowhere, I was like, y'all really just did a old movie trope that y'all didn't need to do. Like y'all you literally could make Pedro Pascal like, I'm a big fan, I love your work, I'm not heartless, I just need to do this for my family's sake. Would you not do the same thing for your wife and kid? Like you have a wife, you're a divorced wife that you still love very much dearly, and your kid. I think you could have did that. Still kind of did the buddy cop thing where they're working together, they think on the same side, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're not on the same side. Like that's probably my dislike. And then a little bit, like you said, the pacing was long in certain scenes that it didn't need to be long in. Like we all knew that what the gist of the scene was, the build up the friendship, the build up like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what it is. Like, I guess when he drugged himself by mistake, it put me a funny scene, but at that point, like it just went way too long a little bit for me.
I agree. I feel like they could have that time of it for sure. And I feel like with the CIA, the people who are playing it, I love those actors for sure, but they felt a little off. Like they didn't like mesh well with the movie itself. I don't know if you felt that too. Like some of their dialogues like seemed too forced. Because like the way I saw it, like Pedro and Cage seamlessly worked together incredibly well. The CIA actors felt a little stiff. But maybe that's what they were going for. But for me, it felt pretty stiff, like some of their word choices.
It was abrupt. It was like they was playing in an action movie versus Pedro and Nick was playing in a comedy movie. So it was two different movies that you had happening at the same time. Like they was the action piece of the movie. They were trying to do the mystery investigation, figure out where Nick Cage is and how to figure out the girl and save the girl, versus Nick Cage and Pedro was doing a whole like buddy comedy movie where they was like buddy cop kind of thing. We're writing a movie together, let's get better. So I definitely see how that is, because they wasn't really in the movie. Like Tiffany Haddish is not even in the final climax of the movie. She is out the movie, and what's his name gets knocked out before you even see what he can do. So you're right, they're there to try to be more of a comedy bit to get Nick Cage something else to do. Storyline B versus storyline A. You're right, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It merges, but it merges without them. Like you can legit. You can't take them out the movie.
Yeah, you really can't, because that's when he starts doing the spy stuff and everything. But I feel like they could have had better dialogue with Cage, and even maybe had dialogue with Pedro Pascal's character, Javi. I feel like that could have been more interesting instead of just having them both die.
Did he actually die?
Yeah.
I thought it was just knocked out.
No, they died. They both got shot.
What? She made the last shot. I was like, oh, she's alive, and then it just.
Yeah, she made the last shot, but she also got shot, and then shots in the front.
I thought she got shot in the shoulder.
She got shot in the chest. Look, go back and watch it.
She said, oh.
Yeah.
got shot in the shoulder. She was fine.
Yeah, I'm fine after getting shot in the shoulder. You know, daily Thursday activity.
And then what's the name? You never see what happened to him. You just saw he was like knocked out in the chair. So I was like, oh, he's
shot too. You can see it, and it's like side. He was shot.
he's trying to. Okay, this is movie logic. You get shot in the side, you're still alive.
You don't know how long they had him though. Remember, like they had him call and say, "Hey, Cage, get your family in here to this spot quickly." We don't know how long time passed for sure.
Right.
But you can bleed out pretty quick by getting shot.
But once again, this is an action movie. The good guys.
It is a meta comedy buddy action movie.
Meta comedy buddy action movie. Wait a minute.
That's self-aware.
Because any other action movie, somebody gets shot. Like we've seen John Wick get shot so many times, and he's like, "Okay, John, you just brushed your shoulder off. Like you got hit by a freaking car, did 360 flips, landed on your cranium, no concussion, walks away with both legs intact. Okay, John, make that make sense." So, okay, I did not know they died. That's bad. Another thing I want to say, because this is actually going back something to a good. I guess we can talk about this when we get to Nick Cage part. But any other like dislikes? Because that's the only thing I really have for this.
Honestly, that's the only dislikes I have too. Like, I've seen this movie multiple times, and each time it gets a laugh out of me. I showed my mom and my grandma who don't really watch these kind of movies, and they were laughing for most of it.
It was funny. I did like it. It was funny. All right, let's go ahead and get into the budget and the cast and details here. So, the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It came out 2022. It is an action comedy. It's rated R. It's an hour and 47 minutes, which I appreciate that. It did not need to be a 2-hour movie, especially in this day and age when everything's 2 hours. It did not need to be that long. I appreciate that. The director was Tom Gormican, and the writers were Tom Gormican and Kevin Eaton. Do not know anything else they've done, but they're the directors and writers. The movie itself had a budget of $30 million estimated. It grossed worldwide $29 million. So it almost made even worldwide.
I feel like with this kind of film, it's going to be more of a cult film later in life, I feel like.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Like, I feel like it's going to be, no matter what Universal, no matter how long it is. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it, but.
I feel like a lot of Nick Cage movies have become cult films, so it just kind of makes sense why it falls in that world. All right, cast Nick Cage as Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage as Nick Cage. Like we both say, he was great. Like he's legit being himself. He also had a storyline between him and his daughter in the movie, where his daughter's like, "What? I'm just existing here, Dad. Why do you bring me into this?" We try to bond with his family, which. It makes him as an actor who's always traveling, who's always doing stuff, making different productions. He might not get as much time. Him or her might not get as much time with their family, so their family can be a little disconnected from each other. So that storyline made sense. It just seemed like a normal actor in his daily life just trying to get another gig, but he's past like not the prime of his career, but I guess he is.
Well, I looked it up. He started filming like in 1970 or something. He's been in over 100 films at this point.
Wow. So he technically is like in his, not his prime, but in his...
Truthfully, without sounding like a fanboy right now, I think he's going through a renaissance right now.
A renaissance?
His past few movies, they have so much range and depth. And this is what it kind of ties back to, because I feel like he's all those characters in this movie in a way.
Yeah.
He's just doing 100 different things with this movie in terms of like actions, emotion, stuff like that. I thought he did an incredible job, and he was able to complement a lot of the people that he played with.
Yes. I think what it is that like he's done so many movies he already got the money he need to make, so now he can just have fun doing the stuff he wants to do. Cause it looked like he was enjoying himself in this movie. It didn't like he was like, I have to be Iron Man in this movie. Not saying Robert Downey Jr. didn't enjoy being Iron Man, just saying like he didn't have to be a character to fit a role. Oh, Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique in X-Men. He didn't have to be this character for 4 movies. You know, he was tired of doing the character after movie 2. You know, It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal as Javi. Good.
Amazing.
Good.
I think without Pedro Pascal, the movie would not have been as good, in my opinion. Like, him and Cage worked so well together that it made the movie what it is. I feel like if you put anyone else in it, it'd be hard to find someone that could have matched that energy that we needed for the film.
Yes, I think 100%. Pedro Pascal's another one who has range out this world that we don't talk about enough. Like,
yes.
Like anytime you say, "Oh, Pedro Pascal is good," like who is it? I'm thinking of Oscar Isaac. Don't know Oscar Isaac. I feel like Oscar Isaac and Pedro Pascal, for me, I put them on the same level almost. I don't know why. I just feel like they both are like right there. And the other person I can think like who's done different stuff and still make it work. It's Oscar Isaac. Like he's done a bunch of different superheroes to like horror to meta kind of movies. Like maybe he can do it, but you're right. Pedro Pascal, just him and the chemistry he has with Nick Cage and be able to play off of him was really good. Tiffany Haddish as Vivian, who is one of the CIA agents. She was fine. She was cool.
She was good.
Yeah.
She was good.
Like the thing is, I feel like with her and where is he at? Oh, Ike. Is it Ike? Ike Barnholt?
I've seen him in other stuff, but I can never remember his name. I feel bad saying that, but I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. I still never recall his name when I see his face.
He's Martin. He's the other CIA agent, and yeah, he's in this movie too. And yeah, he is he's in Neighbors. He is the neighbor in Neighbors, or the friend in Neighbors, and and yeah, you're right. He's good.
He's a straight man in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm following this. This is my personality. No nonsense. Yeah.
And it was fine for a few comedy bits, but for the most part, I think whenever you removed them out of it, it wouldn't be, sadly, it wouldn't be much of a loss to the movie.
Some nobody.
Yeah, sadly. And then we have Sharon Horgan, who plays Olivia, who is Nick Cage's divorced wife, and Lily Moshin, who plays Addie Cage, who's Nick Cage's daughter. They was good. They did their, yeah.
They did what they were supposed to do in the film, and I was compliment them.
Yep, they were supposed to be which actually had a bigger role towards the end of the movie, because they wasn't just there. They actually came in because Pedro Pascal character Javi wanted to say Nick Cage is lonely. I'm bringing his family here against his unbeknownst to him, and they did a good job. They actually play a big part in the final part. But also Lily gets kidnapped, so now Nick Cage has more of a dog in his fight than just. And I think that's another reason put the kidnapped girl, who also down and they talked about in the script, because it's that'd be stupid. Why the two guys come together to save a girl? Well, put the daughter in there and they come together to save the girl, but the mom also does her part and plays a role as well. So that's the cast. That's the cast and characters there. The main villain, I'm not even gonna talk about him because he literally was purely just.
I believe Lucas did a good job in this film. He played the bad guy that was a stereotypical bad guy, which was needed for this kind of film, I feel like. And
Lucas is played by Paco Leon. He plays Lucas, who's a bad guy. But I mean, besides what he's in the movie for a 2-minute scene. Then he shows back up for the reveal scene, and then he's there for the rest of. I guess his aggression and everything, but he's literally, you can swap him out with any other villain and be like, okay. Even the setting for that scene reminds me of I think it's Outside the Lines or Outside the Wire it's a Netflix movie starring Anthony Mackie, and he has to, I think, go to a stronghold like that. And I swear that building was using the same movie, and it's the same exact scene. I watched this movie, and I swear I was okay, I've seen this scene before. The villain has been done in so many movies. Watch any James Bond movie, you've seen this villain.
I think that's what's needed for this kind of film, though, to make the buddy comedy work, though. So I appreciate where they are coming from with that. 100%.
Really,
Yeah. I know it's cliche, but
Yes.
it's also a very cliche, self-aware movie.
yes, but like when the movie does that, you're just like,
They even read out the cliches.
I know. I just outside the wires named that movie with Anthony Mackie from 2021.
Okay.
But I just truly wish they just would left Javi as the villain, and you could literally made it where you had a empathetic villain or a sympathetic villain, where you're just like, we get you, bro, and you can still have the comedy in it, and then maybe Javi's like, you know, Nicolas Cage, you got me. I will release this girl. And then like they do like even make it more cheesier. Do like the bro clap like the R like yeah like 1980s movies. Versus the Demi Moore appearance. Like wait a minute. Any other thoughts?
About the actors or anything like that?
Overall.
Love this movie. Truth be told, I've seen it 4 times because I think it's still funny each and every time, no matter what or who I show it to. I just think it's an homage to Nicolas Cage. I really do. He's going to continue making amazing movies throughout his life, but like this is his most self-aware one that I can always appreciate.
All right. Let's see. Other thoughts. See here. I do like how the movie changed as far as like setting and as far as like lighting and directing, like as far as like camera and choreography, not all of that really, but more cinematography I think is the word I'm looking for, or the editing of the movie, like how the light change and how it's smooth and like you really don't, it's a transition from like movies where the lighting of the movie changed, like you said, where it got the aspect ratio changed and it got smaller. Like I like how the movie flawlessly did stuff like that and not lose you in the movie where you're like, wait a minute. Like you saw that, you've also seen the movie 4 times. The first time I didn't notice it. I only noticed it towards the end when the movie seamlessly transitioned from the movie it was in to another movie to watch on screen, which you're like, wait a minute. Where I had to like legit like go back and repeat, like that's not the same girl that was his daughter, which I showed you how good the good job the daughter and mom did, because when they did that, they wasn't rememberable characters, and when they did that change, you would have been like thought nothing different. But because of the fact they did help the movie and boost it a little bit more, when that change happened, you're like, why is Demi Moore in this movie? Wait a minute, what happened to Olivia? I did like this movie. I liked everything, how they approached it, the idea behind it, how it didn't take itself seriously. I genuinely was curious how this movie was going to end, even though I knew they were going to save the daughter, even though I knew they were going to save the president's daughter. I knew how it was going to play out, but I didn't know how it was going to end. I like how it gave us a little bit different.
Kept you on your toes, essentially.
Huh?
Kept you on your toes, essentially. Like,
yes.
You didn't know exactly what direction it was going to take.
And I appreciate that. I definitely do appreciate that, because that character change. Like maybe if they made the cousin around a little bit longer and have him just hang out a little bit more, it wouldn't have been that big of a like, oh, you're just taking the heat off of Pedro Pascal. Instead of being The Rock be the one who hit Stone Cold Steve Austin, it's Rikishi for the sake of Triple H. Okay, because you wrote yourself into a corner. But I enjoy this movie. I think this movie, you're gonna watch. I think you're gonna have a fun time with this movie. I think you're not gonna like walk away from the movie like this movie was stupid. I don't think you're not gonna do that at all. Like you're gonna watch this like, okay, I get what this was, a meta comedy, but you're going to have fun. And there's some meta comedies that they, like you said, they can't hit that right. They mess up.
It feels too forced. It feels too unnatural. Like this, it felt very natural. The actors were very well together. I think it's gonna be a timeless classic.
I can see that. All right, is this a Friday night movie?
100%.
Yep, Friday night movie. Watch your friends and family and great in time. Do you want to go first? Or I'll go first.
I can go first. I'm trying to be very objective personally because I love Nicolas Cage. I love Pedro Pascal. I would give it a 9.2.
Well, don't forget my grading scale is A through L. Pluses and minuses do count.
Okay, that's my bad. We can edit that.
Too late.
A minus.
An A minus? Okay, so yeah, that's 90%. I'm gonna give The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent from the year 2022. I'm gonna give this movie a solid B. It gets an 85% from me. I think it's a good movie. I like it. I think it's fun. It's a little cliche here and there, but it's also like a meta comedy. But with that being said, like the pacing issue is one of the things that, okay, I thought I was tripping when Steve pointed out, like, all right, no, I wasn't. It wasn't some things, but this movie is a little slower. The CIA agents, if you could take them out the movie, like replace them with somebody else, they would just been there. The villain in the movie, as far as storyline goes, it just, you took the heat off of somebody that you could have stayed with. But as far as the acting with everybody, I think everybody did great acting. The editing of the movie, the cinematography of the movie, I think was great. There wasn't that much music. I didn't really notice that much music. Like there was one part where I heard like licensed music, but generally when a movie like this does music, it's trying to set up something or the music is playing for a reason. And this movie didn't do that. Like, the movie Smile didn't have music to the very end, and it played a song that was like, you're trying to be creepy for no reason. Like, it was like, it's a small world after all, something like that. Something like you're like, why? But this movie didn't have music in it at all. Like, well, it had music, but it wasn't like, it was like your action.
It wasn't the focus of the movie.
Yes.
The music just added to it. And it was like, oh, hey, here's this interesting soundtrack that you have to pay attention to.
But like, it wasn't anything like memorable. Like, y'all not walking away from the movie like, listen to like the Pirates of the Caribbean, he's a pirate soundtrack. Like, I think music in movies really do make the movie sometime. And like, this movie didn't really have music that stood out to me. Like the new Batman music where it's like the Death March song, like Imperial March mixed in with, I think it's called Death March. But like that, so like the tune when Batman's walking up and you hear that doom, 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 you're like, oh God, no. You don't hear that in this movie. That's fine though. Not every movie should have an amazing movie score. It's just that I know when I listen, cause I love listening to music. I love movie scores, and sometimes a movie score can take a movie from like okay to yeah. Anyway, but I think this movie is still a good comedy movie. I think you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna watch it. It's gonna be for me at 85%. Let's see what IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes give this movie. So IMDb gives this movie, let's go for Anthony Mackie real quick and go back to The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. IMDb gives this movie a 7 out of 10. That is a C. Actually, make sure they actually give it an exact 7 out of 10. Like that's a C. Nope, not trying to go to commercials. Why is that the first thing? Why is that IMDb? Like it's a YouTube trailer for the movie. Okay, actual score. Yeah, it's a 7.0 out of 10. It's a little like a 7.0. It's 7 out of 10. So that's a C minus. Because it's like a 7.5, something like that. That would have been a C. So that's a C minus. And Rotten Tomatoes gives this movie, and this is the critics, an 87%. That's a B plus. And the audience themselves give this an 87%. So that's a B plus. So Steve, he gives it an A minus. He's like right there. I give it a B. I'm right there. Rotten Tomatoes, both critics and audience both give it a B plus, and then good old IMDb gives it a 7 out of 10, which is a C minus. So.
I never trust them anyway.
IMDb, I give them more. IMDb, I feel like it's a little more strict than any other. So like, how many A's have you ever seen on IMDb?
Hardly any.
Right? Like.
Bunch of numbers.
Well, dang. Well, Steve, thank you for the request. Thank you for the review. Thank you for jumping on this episode. It's been too long. This is gonna be kind of weird video to watch because I'm looking down because I need like to get a stand and have you right here so it look like I'm talking directly at you. I am, but when I do this editing, it's gonna look really weird. Give you guys a little behind the scene magic. But anyway, thank you, Steve, for coming on to the show. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Anything you want to say to the audience before we dip out?
Yeah, happy to be back, everyone. I hope to be in more of these. I have some other movie reviews I want Zakka to do, so I'll probably be back.
Oh, God. Well, he's a Patreon member, though, so he got it. He got it on lock. I'll get to it, get it out as fast as I can, and get it up on Patreon, so therefore he can watch and listen to the review before it comes out on YouTube and Facebook. That's the benefit of Patreon. But Thank you guys for watching this episode of Movie Breakdown. Steve, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. See you guys next episode and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all and keep being awesome.